Okay, so in chapter 7, we're actually going to break it up into two parts. So we're actually going to take a test after sections 1 and 2, and then we'll do the rest of it on a separate test. So we're going to start with just looking at operations of functions. So right here, this should be up there. Okay. Um, if you see these right here on the left, this is how the book is going to write them. What they're asking you to do is to add, subtract, multiply, and divide each of the functions that they give you. So they'll give you two functions, f of x and g of x, and then they just want you to follow these directions. Okay, so if these were the two functions that they gave you, okay, they're going to be pretty basic like this. So we have x minus 2, and we have 2x minus 7. We want to find each one. So let's just do them in order, and I believe the book has them in this same order. If we want to find the answers for each one, if you see f plus g of x, they just want you to add the two functions together. So we're going to have x minus 2, and then we're going to add to it the other one, which is 2x minus 7. Then we combine like terms. Okay, so this would be 2, no, not 2, 3x minus 9, and then you're done. Okay, for 2, they want you to subtract them. Okay, the order does matter here because depending on which direction we subtract, we're going to get different answers. So it says that we're taking the f and then minus g, so we'll take x minus 2. Now when you subtract something, like an expression like this, you have to subtract everything. So it's wise to subtract the entire thing, so putting parentheses around it. That way we remember that we're not just subtracting 2x, we're also subtracting negative 7. So when we put these like terms together, what is our x going to be? Yep, negative x. What's our number going to be? Yep, plus 5, because if we have a minus negative 7, minus a negative is positive, you're adding. So we got negative x plus 5. Questions there? Okay, number 3, they want us to multiply them. So we've got x minus 2 times 2x minus 7. Now this is a new semester, so some of you are new to this class. Your other teacher may have said to do the FOIL method right here, which is totally fine if you want to do that. I tend to go with the window method, which essentially is the FOIL method just organized in a square. Okay, so we would take x minus 2, 2x minus 7, and then we just multiply each for each square. So we've got x times 2x, 2x squared. We have negative 2 times 2x, so negative 4x. X times negative 7, and then negative 2 times negative 7. It's 14. So if you did FOIL, you would get those same 4 terms, but these are just organized in a square instead of all in a line. Now, if you add these two like terms right here, we put that in the middle, negative 11x, and your answer always ends up right on the diagonal. So we've got 2x squared minus 11x plus 14 when we multiply the two expressions. Okay, and division. Division is the easiest one because we're just going to leave it like that. Now, later on in another chapter, we're going to talk about the fact that you all know that you can't have a 0 on the bottom, so there are some values down here that are impossible and we need to name those. For this chapter, for right now, I'm not going to worry about that. We'll tackle that when we get there. But just know that we're just going to leave these as we're dividing them, but there's nothing we can simplify on that. Questions there? So that's going to be on the test. Can we handle those? Add, subtract, multiply, and divide? All right. Now, here's the other thing. This gets a little bit more difficult, but if we take it step by step, it ends up being pretty good. We had a taste of this in our last chapter where I asked you to find f of 2a, okay, and you put 2a in for x in all of those spots. That was in our last chapter. But what this is doing is you're taking one function and you're substituting it into the other one, okay? So you're dropping it in for all the x's. Now, we're going to do each of these one at a time. So you'll notice that on the left here it's f of g of x. That little open circle is the word of. So f of g of x, and this one is g of f of x. So on this first one, we're taking the g of x function and we're substituting it in place of all the x values on the f. So here's what I mean by that. We're going to take this function right here. We're going to rewrite it, but we're going to leave the x blank. We're not going to put x there. Okay, so we've got something squared plus 6 times something minus 2. So all I did was write the f of x function, but I left the x's out. Now, like I said earlier, we're putting this into the f function. So what are we going to put in those blanks? Yeah, we're going to take the other function and place it inside the other one. So now all we have to do is simplify this. What are we going to have to do right here on this squared thing? Yeah, we're going to window that or FOIL that. And we're not going to just square the x and the 6, okay, because the subtraction sign means we have to do the window. So off to the side here, I'm just going to quickly do that. We've got x minus 6, x minus 6. So we've got x squared, negative 6x, and 36. Okay, we will combine these two to be negative 12x, and there's our answer. So right here, this x minus 6 quantity squared, when you multiply it, you get that answer. What do we do on the next piece? Yep, distribute the 6, and then we throw our minus 2 on the end. Now we just combine like terms and we're done. So it looks like we've got an x squared. And how many x's do we got here? Negative 6. And then what? Minus 2. I forgot the x there. Okay, so that would be f of g of x, where we take g of x and we substitute it into the other one. Now we're going to go the other direction. Okay, so if we're taking this function and we're substituting it in for g, that means we're going to take this one first and we're just not going to write the x. That's always the first step to make it as clear as possible. You take the function that you're using, which is the first letter, and you write the equation or the expression without the x's there. Now what are we going to drop into this blank right here? The other function, the f of x function, okay? So we'll drop in x squared plus 6x minus 2. There's only one thing to do on this one, right? Just combine our like terms, the two numbers on the end. So we've got x squared plus 6x minus 8, and we're done with that one. So it's taking one function, substituting it into the other. Questions on that? So we've got adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing on the first page, and then we just went through taking one function, substituting it into the other. We're going to do one last thing. All right, so this one we have 3 functions up at the top, and then they're asking us to find a couple of things. Whenever you have one inside of the other, you always start in the middle, you find this one, and then you find the next one. So here's what I mean. We're just going to focus on the g of 2. What are they asking you to find if they say g of 2? What should we do? Yeah, you put 2 in for all the x's. Okay, but you make sure that you use the g of x function, not the other ones. So we're looking right here in the middle. So first we're going to take negative 2. We'll put our 2 in there because that's what they told us to use. And then plus 3. So what is that? Negative 1? Okay, so now we just figured out that right here is equal to -1. So we can rewrite this as f of -1. Well, now we look at the f of x function, and we drop in the -1, and we get the final answer. So it's one function nested inside of the other. Okay, so doing the same thing, we start in the middle, h of -3. So we're going to look over at h of x. So we've got -3 squared, drop in a -3, plus 5. So what's this right here? 9. What's this? Plus 9, plus 5. Okay, so that is 23. What do we do with the 23? Yep, we're going to drop it in for the g of x function. We want to find g of 23 because we just figured out that this answer inside here is 23. So now we take g of 23, so we're looking at -2, 23 plus 3. -43. And then you add 3, so it's -43, right? Okay, so that's your final answer right there. Questions on anything? Those are the 3 types of problems you're going to see.